What's going on, everyone? It's Blue and we are back with another video. As requested, we are going to be talking about Resto Druid. We are going to jump in and get down and nerdy with the numbers. I hope you guys enjoy this one. But this one is going to be about my experience, about the 3 days, only 3 days, and I got up to 1.5k IO. So this is going to be helped you guys to reach that, that key masters, those achievements, to be really pushing some IO stuff. And I understand if you guys are Resto mains, you guys are like, hey, this video isn't for me. We are going to be talking about a lot of the numbers. Specifically, we're going to be talking about mana efficiency. So there's going to be some substance that is for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put that first, and then the rest it is going to be more for people jumping into the content. But that's it, you guys. I really do hope you enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, go ahead and subscribe. But that's it. Take it easy, enjoy. Peace. Alright, like I said, we are going to get down and dirty with the numbers. We are going to be talking about a lot of the numbers. So the first ones we're going to go over is the hots. We're going to go over the best hots that you have in the game, and then we're just going to go from best to worst so we can kind of understand. Of course, Trank is your highest hot available. I don't see this being used as much in dungeons. This is kind of like an oh crap. I have trouble catching up to the damage that's being outputted, so I'll go ahead and pop your Trank. You can use this as just anticipate a lot of damage happening. You can go ahead and use this as damage is happening. But really, I don't use this too often in my dungeon runs, but it is a great talent. The next one up is Cenarian Ward. Like I said, this is a talent. This is one of our strongest hots other than the Trank. Okay, now next we have Wild Growth. Wild Growth is a very strong hot as well. And the very nice thing about Wild Growth is this is can be a party-wide hot. It can hit up to 6 people. So you may be able to get every single party member in that with that buff if they're near each other. Next is we do have our Life Bloom. Life Bloom does give a really strong hot as well as a strong heal, an instant heal, sort of instant heal. Next one is Rejuvenation. So Rejuvenation is a very good hot. If you're spec'd into the one talent that we were talking about, Cultivation, it does become stronger if you put this on an individual below 60%. If you put it on below somebody 6%, this ends up competing with your Wild Growth and your Life Bloom. Okay, so next one we're going to be talking about a trait-specific one, and we're going to be going over this later, but I do suggest you get a trait specific for your Swiftman. Your Swiftman is an instant heal, which can do a hot. It can be given a hot if you do it. And the Swiftman heal over time is fairly decent. Not bad, pretty good. Next one is your Regrowth. So your Regrowth is more of an instant heal. It does give a hot, but it's a pretty poor heal over time effect. And the last one is the Spring Blossom. So this is just spec'd by our talent we spoke about going into it. So Spring Blossom does give the lowest heal over time effect, but it is very strong, and we're going to be talking about why it is so strong later, but it has to do with the fact that it refreshes. Now let's move over to our instant heals. So with Resto Druid, we do have a lot of heal over times. We do have a small amount of instant heals that can be beneficial. So our strongest one is Swift Mend with 33k for me. And then we go Regrowth, and then our Life Bloom. Like we spoke about Life Bloom, it's a really strong heal over time. It also has a instant heal effect, which is kind of misleading because Life Bloom actually doesn't have an instant heal. What happens with Life Bloom is, it can bloom, but it blooms when it's either expires or if you refresh it with, I think, about 4 seconds left. So if it's really low and it's about to expire and you refresh it, you will get that instant effect, or if you just let it fall off, it'll go ahead and give you that instant effect. Okay, with those up there in mind, I am going to be talking about efficiency. What are our most efficient spells? I don't want you to dwell on this because you don't need to be thinking like, oh, let me not use this spell. Obviously, all your spells are useful. They do have their uses. You do need to be using them in a Mythic Plus environment. But I do want you to consider, hey, this spell may be kind of costly. Maybe you don't need to use that. Instead of like, we have so many hot options. Maybe that should be one that you kind of go to just for if this happens, situational. So we'll go ahead and get into that. So Cenarian Ward, it is our most efficient spell. We'll go ahead and say this is 19.77 mana efficiency. Next is our Life Bloom with 15.01. Next up is Swiftman. So Swiftman with the Talented, it does give a good amount of hot. It also is a very strong single target. So this one is 11.89 mana efficient. Now, Efflorescence, this one is 9.18. Okay, this is not including the talent. This is just if one person, by the way, this is just into effect by one person. So 9.8 can be multiplied by 5 individuals, making this an extremely, extremely strong mana efficient spell. Okay, and it's also not including the hot that comes along with our talent for Spring Blossom. Okay, Rejuve, very good, still good, 8.33 mana efficient. Now it can go up to 9.92 mana efficient if the target is below 60%. Now Trank, we have 7.88. Remember, this is only single target, so Trank multiplied by 5 individuals becomes a super, super mana efficient spell. And that's if you channel through the entire Trank, because this is a channeled. Then we have Regrowth close to the bottom, so Regrowth is a 7.73 with the mana efficiency, and then Wild Growth at our lowest. We do need to remember that this Wild Growth potentially could hit 5 individuals, so that 2 can turn to a 10, making it pretty good, not so bad in the mana efficiency. So you might want to consider like, hey, should I use this if they're stacked or not? Okay, let's go ahead and check out our stats. We'll jump into the stats. So for stats for Resto Druid, haste is really important. Master is really important. I have a little bit more haste than mastery. So what haste is going to do is it says it increases your attack speed, spell casting speed, and energy regeneration. What it doesn't really say here, and the most important thing for us as Resto Druids, is it actually helps your hots tick faster. So pretty much it just increases your heal over time effects, your the overall healing that it does. So it doesn't really say that, but it does go ahead and do that, and we could check this. So at 20% haste, this rejuvenation is doing 17.5. And if I go ahead and just pop on some gear that doesn't have any haste at all, we can go ahead and test that. So we got down to 8%. So it's done 17.5. We are at 16.4 or 0.5. So about a K difference. So that's pretty much on all of your heals over times. So haste is pretty good for increasing our heal over time damage, which is pretty much a lot of our spells, right? So haste is really nice. Obviously the attack speed, spell casting speed, not too useful, but this is mostly for our hots. Same with mastery. Mastery is also just related to our hots. It increases our healing over time damage for every hot already on your individual. So we can go ahead and amp this up. So 15% on mastery about does 15.3% for each of my spells. So each spell, so that first spell on there is not going to get buffed. Next one will get buffed by 15%. Next one will be around 30%, and so on and so forth. Just continue to keep on stacking these spells. So that's what makes it really fun for Resto Druid to kind of mess around with. Now, so those are pretty much your main stats, haste and mastery. So now the only leftover stats, and I wouldn't really say give a value to them if one's better than the other. So we do have critical strike and versatility. Critical strike obviously is increase the chances of these spells, these hots to crit, to do a little bit more healing that they intended. So that's pretty good. It's also really good when you go into cat form to have some of those spells that you're casting, or Sunfires do casting to crit, which is cool, so it does a little bit extra damage or healing. But I do like versatility. I wish I had a little bit more versatility. Versatility just, it's not a chance, it's just overall just saying, hey, your healing spells are increased by a small percentage. Your damage is increased by a small percentage. And a plus on that is you take a little bit less damage. So versatility, I really like. I think versatility, I would say it's stronger than critical strike, and that's just a preference, just because I like having those stats. I don't want to really depend on you know, a proc chance. I just say, hey, I got to heal this person. You know, I want a big heal to happen. You know, I just want that big heal to be there versus just like, oh, I'm hoping for a really big crit. Oh, it didn't happen. Maybe I gotta, you know what I'm saying, if that makes sense. But you know, you can consider these to be pretty similar. Alrighty, you guys, now that we know a little bit about mastery and how it works, we're going to go ahead and talk about your healing rotation. What is the best way to start your healing rotation? You know, what is the best way to heal somebody? And it does revolve a lot about our mastery. And there is one specific spell that we have that can really make a huge difference in our spells. So the problem with Resto Druid is our first healing over time effect is pretty much, it's essentially a dead spell. Okay, it's not being buffed. We have the ability to buff our spells 15, 30, 45% more, you know, and more than that, obviously it can keep on going, more than what it would originally. So a 45% buff versus a zero buff, it's just like, wow, that's a huge difference. That zero buff sucks, right? And it does. So that very first spell you cast on somebody, it sucks, okay? And then you go ahead and amplify it, and now amplify it and work your way up. In our toolkit, we do have a spell that really helps us out, and this is how we should initiate our healing rotations. If we're really worried somebody's going to be taking some damage, we should go ahead. We do spec into Life Blossom. Let me show you guys. Life Blossom is an interesting spell. Let me show you how it works. We go ahead and put something down. If I walk on it, look right here, my voodoo, you're going to see a buff. If I walk in here, I get a buff, right? This buff's right here. It says Spring Blossom. It says, hey, I'm healing you for a small portion every time you walk through it. Hey, I'm healing you. I'm healing you an extra little bit, and that's my talent. What is really interesting about this specific heal over time effect is it's going to continually refresh. It's like, oh, you're still standing here. Oh, let me keep on refreshing the duration, refreshing the duration. This is key for Resto Druid. So what does that mean? This is my first spell. This is our dead spell. It's not being buffed at all, right? Well, it heals about 800 healing over 2 seconds, right? So my dead spell is going to go ahead and buff my second spell. And then my second and first spell are going to buff my third spell. But look what happens to my dead spell. It keeps on refreshing, and now 900 turns into 1,000. Okay? So my first dead spell is not actually a dead spell because it will continually refresh. So look at that. My 900 or my 800, whatever the hell that was, and now went ahead and turned into, you know, like 1,200. So this is how you want to initiate your fights. Do be aware though, when you go ahead and pop this down, let's say your tank's up here, is pulling something, you pop that down. It does take a few seconds, like I said, for this to take effect, so you do need to wait. So it's not on me instantly. Now it's on me. So you do have to kind of put that in, wait for a second. Now your tank waits for that hot to hit your tank, and now just start casting it. And this will resolve the issue of that first spell being a dead spell. If you go ahead and start it off with Spring Blossoms or your Efflorescence, you know, you won't have a first spell that's dead. Okay, for the Mythic Plus talents of Resto Druid, these are pretty much going to be the talents you are going to be wanting to run. So we do have Prosperity for our first tier. This one could be interchanged with Cenarian Ward. Cenarian Ward is a very powerful hot over time. This one comes with kind of a on use effect, right? So like you can't just pop it and then just expect this healing to happen. They do need to take damage. So this is mostly used for tank. This is great of increasing another hot to our rotation to really get some extra heals off. This is one of our most powerful hots that we have in the game. So this one's good. I do like Prosperity. I like Swiftman. Swiftman is a very good spell. This gives us two Swiftman charges. This is very good. I do find in dungeons sometimes people take accidental damage, which can chunk you down. And it's, you know, obviously you have a bomb group that never takes damage, then you're definitely going to want Cenarian Ward. This is pretty much accidental proof to say, oops, somebody took some damage, let me immediately get them up. Let me go ahead and prop a Swiftman. And it does happen quite often. So I do like my 2 charges of Swiftman. And Swiftman is a very strong instant heal. Okay, Renewal, for that same reason that we spoke about, I do like Renewal. Renewal is just like an accidental, like, oh, I took a lot of damage really quickly, I can, just heal myself 30%, which is a very strong heal. This is just for yourself. I mean, so kind of think of it as like, not a defensive, but like, to mitigate any accidental damage immediately without wasting any spells or wasting any mana. Feral Affinity, this is pretty much your go-to. You do want to be, helping your keys out, your team out by doing damage, and Feral Affinity is going to be the one to grab for that. Typhoon, of course, these can be interchanged with Massive Entertainment depending on the dungeon affixes. And then Cultivation, I would suggest Cultivation. When Rejuve heals a target below 60%, it applies another hot or heal over time effect. So very strong. Spring Blossom, I like Spring Blossom, so you guys are going to say, oh, well, Tranquility Reduced is really good. Bark Skin, Iron Bark is really good. That's true. Iron Bark, I do like Iron Bark. I like it a lot. But I feel like a minute cooldown is enough. In the Spring Blossom, it's just giving us another hot. We do want, with Resto Druids, we want as much hots as possible, so I really like Spring Blossom. I would suggest this. Now, pretty much your bread and butter is Photosynthesis. This is a very strong talent for Mythic Plus specifically. So it says, while your life bloom, so this is one specific spell, while your life bloom is on yourself, your hots heal 20% faster. Okay? I didn't find this to actually be the case. So if I'm looking at my heal, so my regrowth is about 15, or my rejuvenation is about 15 seconds, right? So it says if I put a life bloom on myself, um, you know, my heal over time should be 20% faster. So it pretty much means I shouldn't be 15 seconds when I readjust this, right? And well, it still is, and it's doing 14 seconds, by the way. So when I put it up 14 seconds, even if I put it up with this, it's still 14 seconds. So what does that mean? Well, it's not really actually happening 20% faster. Your time's not increasing. Your time is still the same, but the period that it's healing you in between the allotted 15 seconds is faster. So what does that mean? It means overall 20% stronger. So it says just by having, life boom on yourself, your heal over time effects are 20% stronger. So think of it like that. They're healing quicker in between the times. Your time's not decreased, therefore just you can think of the overall spell damage being 20% stronger. Now it says while your life bloom is on an ally, your periodic heals on them have a 5% chance to cause it to bloom. So life bloom does have it's a good hot. It also has a strong single target heal. So this is mostly tanks. So pretty much what you're doing in dungeons is you're just switching your life bloom from your tank to you depending on how you want to heal. If it's a tank intensive fight where they're going to be taking a lot of damage, you just keep your life bloom on your tank. Now, if it's a raid or it's a party damage, then you're going to be switching your life bloom around to yourself, hotting up the party, and then, once that party damage is over, once you get everybody topped, switch it back to the tanks. This is pretty much how you play Resto Druid in Mythic Plus. It's all about photosynthesis. Very strong trait. This makes us very flexible in being either a single target healer or an AoE party healer. Okay. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the traits that you're going to see as a Resto Druid. Some of the most important traits. I would say, traits are pretty important for Resto Druid. They do have a few that are really strong that you want. And other than that, once you obtain those few specific items, those few specific Azurite traits, then kind of the rest is, up to your choice. And I'll go over a few that I like and that I think are important. But the two that you do want to have, that you need to have, is High Noon. So I understand that this is a damaging spell. This is just going to make you really relevant in DPS. It's very easy. Just when you see a pack, just go ahead and do a Sunfire, and and your Sunfire is just going to be doing a lot of damage. So Sunfire is going to be the majority of your damage. So this is just a very, very strong trait for us to just help clear through the dungeon a little bit faster. Okay, the next one that I would say is a must is Growth Trending. So you only need one of High Noon and one of Growth Tending. Sorry. So what this does is it says Swiftmend, instead of just being a straight, you know, big heal, it makes Swiftmend a heal over time effect. You are going to need this. This is just like we said with Mastery. Any other hot that you have is just going to help you help your heals just really do a lot. So those are straight. Those are really good. So I'm going to go over some of the other ones that I have and that I picked, and then we'll talk about, some other things that I may have not picked but I feel are strongly. So right here we do see Early Harvest. This is one for me that I just did, because I didn't have anything else. But this is pretty good. It is making our wild growth just do a little extra heals, which are really nice. It also, decreases our innervate time by 1 second, which is cool. I mean, not something really I'm counting on, or I'm going to try to, really do a whole bunch of wild growth casts, because it's a pretty expensive spell, if not needed. So I'm not really going to go ahead and do that, but it is nice as an extra heal. Now I did pick up Treacherous Covenant. What I think about this one, I like Resto Druid is I like having stats. I like having extra stats, and this one's just automatic, so your primary stat is increased while you're above 50% health, and then you take 15% while you're below a certain amount of health. This works really good with the Renewal, so if I do pop down below a certain point, I can just go ahead and pop that Renewal, which I kind of use as an oh crap button. So I feel like with that Renewal on my bars, that Treacherous Covenant is still a really strong talent. And then last up, I do like Waking Dream. This is just passive healing. You don't really need to get this. It's not a a huge portion of your healing, but I do like it. I feel like it makes me a little bit tankier than I would be otherwise, because I just have an automatic heal on me. And then I do like Lively Spirit. So Lively Spirit, whenever I innervate myself, I get a chance to just get some more mana back. Go ahead and pop a few heals, instant heals, or not instant, but like no cost heals. And then while I'm doing so, I'm also just increasing my mana. I really like this. This helps elongate some fights that may be a little bit difficult for you. It also helps you, go in between pack to pack without really stopping. You can go ahead and take a few sips, get your mana up a small portion, and then just go ahead and pop your innervate and get your mana up to the rest what it needs to be. Other than that, some other spells that we can go ahead and see if I have any in my bag we can take a look at. Anything that really just increases your haste or your mastery or any of your versatility, any of your spells would be really good. So this one increases your critical strike, so that's not a bad one. Nothing here that's new. We'll take a look at this shoulder. Okay, Autumn Leaves I've looked at. This one isn't going to be good. This is more I would feel as a raid um, talent, because there are times that I will go ahead and I will just go ahead and pop Rejuvenate on everybody and just use that as the only heal over time effect. But pretty much if they take more damage than this automatically, this trait I'm just not using at all. I'd rather have as some other trait that I can use all the time versus just like, oh, well, they take small amounts of damage. So my Rejuve is going to get a little bit stronger when I go ahead and put it on them. It's not really effective for me. I would rather have something else that buffs either my stats or a stat or some kind of trait that I can use all the time.